The moment your API gets a second consumer, you can't change it freely anymore. A renamed field, a different response shape, or a removed endpoint can break every client overnight. That's exactly the problem API versioning solves, and today we're breaking down the 3 most common versioning strategies in ASP.NET Core, plus a bonus approach and how to deprecate old versions gracefully. We'll use Asp.Versioning.Http, the official successor to the old Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.MVC.Versioning package. It plugs into your Program.cs with a single add API versioning call. You set a default API version, turn on report API versions so every response tells clients what's supported, and configure an API version reader that can combine multiple strategies at once, which is handy during a migration period before you standardize on one. Strategy 1 is URL path versioning. The version lives right in the route, /API/v1/products, versus /API/v2/products. It's highly visible, and because the URL itself changes, it's cache-friendly by default. Different URL means a different cache key. The trade-off is route duplication. You end up with a separate controller for every version. This is the go-to choice for public APIs, partner integrations, and anywhere discoverability really matters. Strategy 2 is header versioning. Instead of changing the URL, the client sends the version in a custom HTTP header, like API version :2.0. The resource address never changes, which keeps things REST pure and clean. A URL should identify a resource, not a specific representation of it. The downside is it's invisible in a browser address bar, and every client has to remember to set that header correctly, which makes casual debugging harder. This fits internal APIs and service-to-service calls where you control both sides. Strategy 3 is query string versioning. Just appending $API-version equals 2.0 to the URL. It's the easiest to test, since you can try it directly in any browser without extra tooling. But it pollutes query parameters that are often already used for filtering and paging, and it caches poorly, since proxies frequently treat every query combination as a unique entry. Best used for quick prototyping and internal admin tools, not as your only production strategy. There's also a bonus approach worth knowing, media type versioning, where the version rides inside the accept header's content type, something like application/JSON version equals 2. It's the most restful option in theory, since the representation format itself carries the version, but it's the least ergonomic for client developers in practice. And whichever strategy you pick, don't forget deprecation. Marking a version as deprecated adds an API deprecated versions header automatically, so clients can detect it programmatically and migrate on their own schedule. Pair that with a real sunset policy, 3 to 6 months notice, before you return a 4.10 gone for the retired version. So which one should you actually pick? URL path versioning for public, cacheable APIs where discoverability matters most. Header versioning for internal services you fully control, where REST purity and clean contracts are the priority. Query string versioning for fast manual testing, used as a fallback rather than your primary approach. And no matter which you choose, commit to one primary strategy. The combined reader is a bridge for migration periods, not a permanent architecture. The right versioning strategy always depends on your audience. Public API consumers value visibility, internal services value clean, stable contracts. Version your DTOs, not just your routes, document a real sunset timeline, and always report your supported and deprecated versions. Versioning isn't about predicting every future change. It's about giving yourself room to make breaking changes without breaking the trust of the clients depending on you. That's it for this one. I'm Abhinash Sahani, and this channel, Code with Abhinash Sahani, is all about learning, building, and practicing real-world .NET, Azure, and full-stack skills. If this video helped, drop a like, share it with a fellow developer, and subscribe so you don't miss next week's video.